Today we're going to talk about 5 things I wish I had known before I had bought my first home. Now, I'm a real estate agent. I've been working in the real estate industry for about 5 years. I'm licensed in 2 different states. I'm licensed in California and Texas, but my primary work is done in Austin, Texas, Central Texas in particular. And I work with a ton of first-time home buyers. So not only in the last 5 years did my husband and I purchase our first home, let alone our second home, but I've also seen and witnessed a lot of the trial and error things that first-time home buyers go through in their first home purchase ever. So today I'm going to talk about 5 of the things I wish I had known before buying my first home that will also just help enlighten you if you're on your journey to homeownership as well. Hi, my name is Bridget Schlegel. I am your Austin, Texas real estate agent. I specialize a lot with new construction homes, first-time home buyers, and relocators out here to the Austin market. Whenever you're ready to start making the move, you can book a call down in the description below, and we'll do a private one-on-one to discuss exactly what makes sense for your next steps. If you're currently renting or looking to move out of state here to Austin, Texas, or just thinking about buying your first home in general, this video is going to be super helpful for you, and hopefully it can save you a lot of confusion and stress down the road later. Right now, my husband and I own 2 homes. He bought one when he was 22 years old, back when we were still just dating, and then we bought a primary residence together just in 2024 and rented out that former home. So now we've got 1 rental property, 1 primary home. But of course, we've learned a lot of things along the way because that first home was a resale home that was a 70s build, while this new home that we're in is a brand new construction. It was an inventory home here in Austin. But I've seen a lot of different situations with first-time home buyers and the different things that surprise them when it's their, first home that they've ever closed on. So it's good to talk about those things now and make sure that you know what to expect when you dive in as well. Number 1, your mortgage can be sold on the secondary market at really any time. When you close on the home, the actual lender that you closed on may not be the servicer that you're making your payments to regularly after you've moved in. That initial lender may oftentimes sell your loan to the secondary market after closing, and you'll have to switch your portal and your login credentials and start making payments to a new system once that happens. What this means is that the payment platform might change, but it should have 0 effect on your interest rates or the loan terms at all. On the first property, the rental property, we've actually changed the payment platform, I believe, twice now. And in our current property, which we closed on in 2024, we're actually in the process of changing the platform right now because originally it was set with Mr. Cooper, but it was a merger with Rocket Mortgage, and now they've got a bunch of issues with their login platform. So we've actually, the last week, we've literally had to be on the phone trying to get access. So we're making payments, but we can't get access to the system, and that's because they just did this huge merger, and we're caught up in that because our loan was also part of the transfer. So this is just something that can be slightly an inconvenience, but it is a part of home ownership, and it will most likely happen to your loan if you're doing a regular conventional loan. Ultimately, it is a completely normal part of the home ownership process, but oftentimes buyers are just not prepared for it. Good thing I do try to work with lenders that will give you a heads up, especially if you are a first-time home buyer, so that you are prepared for this fact, but a lot of times it can slide under the rug, and that's why it's just important to talk about it now. Number 2, your closing costs are a lot more than just the down payment. Now, because I work in real estate, this was definitely something that I was aware of in advance as well, but once you're in the middle of it, it is kind of a surprise at the same time because you see a lot of money going out before you even close on that home. And what I'm talking about is obviously you've got your earnest money, your option money, but you've also got to pay for inspections. And if you are doing a new construction build from the ground up, there are multiple phases of inspections that you will potentially want to opt into. Of course, they're all optional, but if you do have the opportunity to inspect during the construction of the home, it's oftentimes recommended because once those sheetrock and walls go up, it's a lot harder to make changes behind the walls. But those inspections cost, so inspections, then appraisals, and then also prorated taxes and insurance at closing. That can be a big deal as well. All of these costs are normal, and I have made an entire video just breaking down the different types of closing costs, so I'll link that one in the description below if you want to see more about the different costs to expect, but it doesn't minimize that it does impact your bank account. But that's why I wanted to talk about it here, because a lot of first-time home buyers don't realize all the different moving parts and costs and people involved in the transaction that need to get paid even before they get started with this, dream of buying a first home. Don't forget, you've also got to pay those moving costs, new furniture, and all of the luxuries, right, once you're in the home. So just make sure that you're aware of it, budget in advance, and watch that video if you've got time, just to get an idea of what all goes into the financing side. Number 3, for new construction homes, the taxes will go up the following year. And this is particularly if you buy a new construction home and close on it the same year that the home was constructed. And the reason for this is because that first year, the county and city are not acknowledging that the house has been built yet. So the property taxes are based on just a vacant lot, not the full improvement value of a new home there, which can cause implications when estimating your taxes, estimating your monthly payment, and just what to put in that escrow account when you're working with the lender. In other words, it could look like your monthly payment or that property tax amount is artificially low in the beginning, when you will see a big spike once that improvement value has been accounted for with the county. A good lender like the ones that I choose to work with here in Austin will help you prepare for this and help think ahead so it doesn't become a surprise. But as a first-time homeowner myself, this was actually quite nerve-wracking in the beginning because I didn't necessarily know exactly how much our taxes were going to get assessed for. Now, number 4, your payment can change even if you have a fixed rate mortgage. This is because even though you have a mortgage rate and a principal amount that are fixed at closing, you still have other costs that are part of that monthly payment that do change on a yearly basis, such as your home insurance, which can go up every single year, your property taxes, which oftentimes also go up slightly every year if your home is appraised for more, or also sometimes if there is a shortage in your escrow account, the lender or the mortgage company will request an additional amount to cover any shortages. This does not mean that anything is wrong. It just means that your lender is adjusting to the real costs that are updating on an annual basis. So another way to look at it, when you are a first-time home buyer, it is good to budget with margin. Don't buy the home that meets your maximum qualification range, because oftentimes those monthly payments can go up. Even your HOA costs are probably going to raise a little bit every year, especially if you're in a new community. Number 5, the last thing I wish I had known before I had bought my first home is that the emotional win is even bigger than you'd expect. Or in other words, it feels better than I thought. Every single payment that my husband and I make towards our mortgage is going towards our equity, and we're not paying anybody else's equity. Like when you're renting, you're paying for somebody else's mortgage. You're building that landlord's equity rather than building your own. Another way to look at it is that when you're paying rent to a landlord, you're also paying for their property taxes, their insurance, repairs. Any cash flow that they make on that home are going towards those expenses anyway. So you might as well just pay them for yourself and build equity along the way. Owning a home also just gives us a lot more mental peace, I feel like, than renting ever did. I feel strongly that we're building our wealth for our family's long-term, future. And also we just feel a lot more stable and comfortable when it comes to now we can have those discussions about, starting our family. It's not about being perfect or having the perfect home ever, but it is about having stability and being able to progress and have ownership. That first home that my husband bought and closed on when he was 22 years old is now completely paid off, and since it's a rental property, it is just straight cash flow every month. It basically pays for itself. Of course, in Houston, where that property is located, the property taxes are a little bit high and the insurance costs are high because there's a lot of flood zones down there, but we're still cash flowing a good amount every single month on that home. And because that home is paid off now, it serves a lot of other purposes. We can use it as collateral if we wanted to buy another home. We could sell it if we needed emergency funds. We can obviously continue renting it as a cash flowing property. Or say in emergencies, if something happened to this house here in Austin, Texas, we have another home that we could fall back on. And it's a great house as well. So there's just a different level of security and opportunity available when you start owning homes rather than being a renter and helping someone else build their wealth. If you're currently renting somewhere in Austin, Texas, or out of state in California, Florida, wherever you may be, I work with a lot of relocators here and first-time home buyers, so feel free to book a call. We can get started on a strategy that is fit for your particular needs. And also let me know down in the comments below if this video was at all helpful to help set your expectations right when buying a home. Thank you so much for watching. Again, my name is Bridget Schlegel, your Austin, Texas real estate agent. And please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.